Hey there, welcome to The Hash. I'm Zach Seward. I am here with my lovely co-hosts, Will Foxley, Jen Sanasi, Naomi Brockwell. We're The Hash. We're here to get you caught up on the latest in crypto news. Starting us off today is Naomi. Naomi, start us off.
I'm going to start us off. So some interesting things happening in China at the moment. They're apparently planning on banning any private sector involvement in media, publishing, and online platforms, which is huge news and further speaks to the tight control that the CCP has over the entire economy in China. So the CCP has laid out plans to ban private investment in things like, let's talk about what they're actually specified here. So no public sector investment